Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second WOD event in India. I hope you all are doing well wherever you're joining us from today. It's so lovely to see so many virtually, and I hope that we could soon have a face-to-face event so that we could meet face-to-face very soon. We've got our lovely speakers here in the showroom with us today, and we would start the conversation soon. But before that, can I just go through a few housekeeping rules? If you have your cameras on, can you please turn those off? Because that helps with the bandwidth, I'm told. Also, if you've not on mute already, please mute yourself because we don't want to hear your dogs barking or your babies crying, because that would be a bit disturbing, isn't it? So let's get those things out of the way first. Now, before I get into the introductions, some of you already know me. For those who don't, hi, I am Harsha Kotak. I'm the founder of WOD Women in Office Design, and I'm also a practicing designer based out of London, UK. I would go on and give the introduction to WOD shortly because there are a lot of new people on the registration list that I've noticed. So, but before that, I would like to say my thank yous to our partners and our speakers because I always tend to forget by the end. So starting with our partners, our team at Steelcase, thank you once again for hosting us in this beautiful space in Mumbai. Also an announcement that Steelcase has agreed to partner with us and support our initiatives here in India by hosting 3 more events during 2021 in Calcutta, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. So thank you, Steelcase. We need your support. We need more partners like you guys. Thank you. And then we've also have a few other partners on board now. And in total, we would be hosting about 8 events in 2021. So guys, keep an eye out on our website. There's loads more coming, lots of excitement. So yeah, keep tuned in. Moving on to our lovely speakers here. Thank you guys for coming in, for participating. This couldn't have been possible without you guys. I promise it's going to be fun. We've already had a lot of fun before we started, right? So that's going to flow through. And also we've got some of the speakers who've flown in, especially from Delhi. Thank you, Shweta. And from Bangalore. So thank you, Paul, just for the event. So that's a great support, isn't it? And how can I forget? Thank you, Paul, for supporting with this event and for the last one. Pal is going to be our ambassador in India. She would be running all our events here. So if you have any questions, please get in touch with Pal Khurana. Yeah, thank you for being my partner in crime here. Moving on to our introduction to WOD. If we can have the slides on. WOD was born in 2018. It came about from a personal experience where I realized that I'm not going out and meeting many people, was just getting so bogged down by projects and just meeting clients and what was getting cubed in. Now I've worked around the world in different countries and I've met some incredible women through my journey. And I just wanted to bring that network on one platform. And that's how WOD came about. That's how it was born. But also, as I said, I realized after 20 years that I was so cubed in, I would go out and meet with my clients. We would have suppliers come into the showroom and offices and show their products. Other than that, I would not go out and meet other experts and other designers. How do I know what you're doing in your projects? How do I learn? How do I grow? And I was feeling very stagnant. And that's when WOD came about. That was another reason. And funny enough, we were having a pre-event call yesterday with the ladies here. And one of them mentioned that, Harsha, we've been together in the industry for so long, all of us. We've worked on certain projects together, maybe as competitors, but we've never met and mingled, never had a wine of class together, right? That's what WOD does. It brings us together to learn, to share, to grow, and to have fun, right? So that was another thing. So it's a mixed bag. Also, there are companies like Steelcase, Herman Miller, Gensler. They do so many research. They do so much research out there for the workplace design industry, which hardly ever reaches us. So that was another agenda. I wanted to bring that knowledge to the wider audience, and that's what WOD does as well. So it's a mixed bag. a mixed bag for what we women need. I've been many a times asked why um, why women only group, and my answer is always why not, right? And that has been proven in last 3 years with what I've done on WOD. It has been so successful. I've seen other women see what I see in it, and that's how today we are a group of about 2,000 plus women from across the globe. We've got chapters in UK, Europe, and now in India. Now, 2000 might seem like a small number, but we are talking only about workplace design industry, and we are talking only about women. So that makes it a really big number. We basically run this platform on one agenda, that is learning while networking and nothing else, right? And we've done loads of different types of events, initiatives to run this WOD platform. It is a common platform where we also let manufacturers come and meet with the A&D community, because otherwise manufacturers don't really get that opportunity. So that's where we are. A personal mission which has now turned into a global mission. You have to be in it to know what it is. So go on, find out more about WOD. We've had some brilliant response from the industry. We've partnered with some amazing companies. We've been hosted by some amazing festivals around the world, right from Clerkenwell Design Week to London Festival of Architecture, to the Valencia Fair, to the Barcelona Design Museum. We've been everywhere. And that's just because of the kind of work that we present out there. Talking about the work that we do, sorry, you guys can't see my slides today, but I'll share it with you. We've got some amazing pictures on the screen right now, and you see the type of work. It's so varied. We've got thought leaders from HOK, Gensler's, and all those bigger practices come and speak at our events. So we've always had Kay Sargent, who's our ambassador from Washington, D.C., who speaks at our events. We've got Aki Samrat, we've got Neil Usher. So those are the sort of seminars we run. But at the same time, we also do a lot of fun workshops, like doing color workshops for young designers, social media and marketing workshops. And we also do a lot of fun parties. And why not? We do a lot of Christmas parties, and all our events have to have cheese and wine. Because come on, can't go without that, right? So it's all fun and not just about learning. Did this for about 2 years, and then I realized that these events are spread out once in 2 months, once in 3 months, but we needed something more than that. And then came the lockdown, where more people needed a digital platform. And that's when we came about with the WOD digital platform, which is an exclusive social media platform for us, a platform where you can share your profile, a platform where you can share your projects. We do a lot of courses on our digital platform, and there's a lot of personal interaction, so you make a lot of strategic business contacts. So that's a new thing. Go check out WOD Digital. It's all app-based. You can find and meet other friends from around the world, and which makes it most interesting. So guys, that's in a nutshell about WOD. To know more, go to woduk.com. You can become a member for free if you're a designer or an architect. If you are not a designer, you can still join in by paying a small fee as a business member. So please go ahead, check us out, and become a member. Moving on to this evening's conversation. We've got our lovely speakers here today. This is, as I've mentioned before, second in the series of Power Women of Design. We did one last month in Bangalore, and it was really successful, not just in the number of registrations that came about, but also from the response and the comments that we received after the event. And that's when myself and Payal decided, let's take this forward. And now we are taking this conversation to different cities of India. And this is the second one here in Mumbai today. And we've got these lovely, amazing designers and architects from Mumbai who are going to share their journey with us, inspiring the aspiring new entrants into the industry. But this time, it's a bit different from what we did last time. We've split up the agenda today into first half being a storytelling time, where each one of them would be presenting one slide which speaks about their story, and they're going to narrate their experiences and journey. So that's the first half. And then the second half would be Q&A. Again, discussion about diversity and inclusivity in our industry. So stay tuned in. We are going to start with introductions to our speakers. So instead of me saying big things about you guys, why don't we start with Zainab? Do you want to start with an introduction about yourself?
Hello. Hi. I'm Zainab Mukaddam. I am an architect, a designer, a workplace strategist. I'm also a storyteller, a dreamer, a writer, aspiring poet. So basically the list kind of goes on.
Brilliant. That's what we needed, isn't it? And we've got variety here actually. And I believe Meghna is not a designer, but a business person. She keeps saying that, but she's got her own thing to bring to the table. So go ahead, Meghna. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. It's Meghna Vajani. I belong to Space Matrix, and my motto in life is the business of business is business. And that's me. Thank you.
Sounds interesting. I'm intrigued now. Go ahead, Shimul.
Hi, I'm Shimul Javeri Kadri, and I'm an architect and urban planner. Been running my practice in Mumbai for the last 30 years, involved in many interesting issues, very much architecture with my 25-person, very kind of very driven practice, detail-driven, craft-driven, sustainability-driven practice, but also millions of other things, including education, women's issues, all of which have been very important to me. So yes, I wear many hats.
Great. Thank you. Lovely to have you here, Shimul.
Hi, I'm Shweta. I belong to DSP. And I've been in this workplace design for more than 2 decades now. I don't think a sentence can describe me, but what I would say is I'm a people person, and driving people and organization and business from all perspectives is my core. And I just want to keep doing it and doing it and doing it.
Yeah, so Shweta is a proper project manager. As soon as she came in here, she walked in and started arranging things everywhere. So we know that about you, Shweta. Go ahead, Poonam.
Hi, I'm Poonam Kothare. I'm a senior associate with M. Moser. Again, architect by training. And what can I say? We are in such a beautiful profession. I mean, we are creating dreams. We make dreams a reality. Again, like I said, architect by training, a designer. And in my free time, I'm associated with Read a Story organization where, I'm reading stories to small underprivileged children, just kind of engaging with them, helping them speak. And then you realize that, these kids, they are a bounty of energy. I mean, when they are reading from their little storybooks, it is amazing. I think there's so much that we can add where we are placed today.
That's amazing that you can find time to do that as well, Poonam. That's really something. So.
Oh, it's very, very fulfilling.
Oh, I bet it is. So, no, thank you. So should we start on our storytelling journey? It's going to be all interesting.
I'll introduce myself also.
Oh, sorry, Shweta.
No problem. I'm Payal Sandhu Khurana. I'm a partner at Alabama Design. I've been an architect. I've been trained as an architect. I've been working in interior architecture for the past 23 years. I believe greatly in the transformational power of workplace design and strategic design. Excited to be the India ambassador of WOD. Harsha and I met fortuitously over the internet around 2 months back, and here we are. We've already almost finished 2 events. Looking forward to more. Gender bias, gender discrimination in our society, in our industry, unconscious, subconscious, is a big driver for me personally nowadays. And I love the idea of curating these events where we can push this conversation into the open and into the mainstream. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we're doing a great job, Pal. I'll give that to us. Do you want to start with Shweta? Your slide is on, so I'll go ahead.
So Shweta's lucky enough to be the first person to start our storytelling session. She was telling me just now that this will look rigged, that I'm asking the first question to her. Shweta, I see you added the Ikigai diagram on your slide. Ikigai, as I know it, is all about following your passion and finding a reason to jump out of bed every morning. So were you able to discover that?
Yeah.
And were you able to follow through with it?
So the answer to this question is as cryptic as my slide. And yes, I do jump out of the bed because the work keeps me on my toes, daily messages and emails. So I open my eyes every morning and that's the first thing I attack. And I decide the pace of my day as per the number of list of to-dos. And like you said, the only thing I would like to say that my journey has just not been linear. When I got into the profession, that era, I was debating whether I should become a hardcore MBA and an investment banker, but destiny landed me into an architecture school. And thankfully, TVB and their great mentors just changed my DNA. And from that architecture school, I have no legacy of belonging to a design family or an architecture driven family or a profession. So I had nothing, no know-how, no bearings. And I said, okay, here I am. Obviously, I was equally passionate that time. So started my journey learning things, and till date, I am just learning. The only thing which has made me succeed is my passion, my attention to detail. So I sometimes feel, and I tell my people, I think I have too many pair of eyes. I can see things behind me on my side, and I pick up things, and my intuition picks up things, and I read people. I don't know, maybe it was just a high EQ, IQ, and then I went back and I studied on this concept, and I think I was born with it. Then and that made me grow, and when DSP Vimal met me like 12, 13 years back to start the Delhi operation, I was a kid, and he said, do you want to like start the office? And I was like, yeah, why not? And everybody told me in my circle, aren't you too young and a girl? There are sharks sitting in the industry. They will eat you up and gobble you down. And I said, okay, we'll see. And I do not know how this whole 13 years has passed and what I've done and what's right I've done and what wrongs I've done. But trust me, now I'm the shark with those sharks. So it's thrilling, this sentence and this journey which has made me reach here has just been about trying to find my balance, transforming myself, trying to get clarity in the chaos that we live in, the projects, design, business, RFPs pouring in, turnaround times at the blink of an eye, and managing people, developing skill, you name it. We are all battling with this. And, I think being a woman, now here is what I think, just because we are so adaptive and I would say multifunctional and, not caught up in a dogma that this is what I can do and this is I will do and having a charted course for our life. I think I'm here. And I thank everybody, my organization, Bimal, Yatin, Mehul, my colleagues, my family, who has never asked me what time I'm getting home from work and who has never judged me why I'm working so many hours, my friends. And I love this, I love this profession because it just opens up so much more. I'm not limited to just doing this or that. That's all.
Shweta,
that's what it is all about.
Shweta, you also mentioned that you feel differently and you think about work differently. Your approach to work is different because you're a woman.
Absolutely. I don't carry my ego to work ever. I still sit in an open plan and I still treat every member in my team as my family. I think I have always realized being a woman, you have that sensitivity, which you need to get people to deliver this passionate work. we talk about design, and every year, every few months, the design trends change. The vocabulary changes. There's so much of learning and teamwork, collaboration that you need to do. You have to adjust your perspectives to every new client, every new project team, and so on. And just because you have that personality of being open to ideas, listen to people, think together, you are able to create something which stands apart. Otherwise, we would all be like robots, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, and that's not what our profession calls out for. So to get that edge, I think just being open and just being connected, people oriented, pick up smaller details, teach that small detail to someone, pick up something here, share it with someone. The community grows, the knowledge grows, the inspiration grows, and the experiences speak for themselves. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you for sharing that with us. We're going to move on to Zainab. And I have a beautiful slide. So firstly, I love what you've done with the graphics there.
Thank you.
And here you state, I'm going to read it out. I am the sum total of every choice that I made in life. But aren't we all? So I'm kind of intrigued to know what is different in your story than mine.
So to be honest, I think women should own their journeys. We should own our successes, but at the same time, we should sort of own our failures as well. We're all just a work in progress, you see. And Harsha, incidentally, I think Mother Nature had tilted the odds in a woman's favor to kind of succeed in the miracle of life itself, because with the 2 X chromosomes and the single Y, you're far more likely to be born as a woman than a man. It's right after we get here that this whole confusion begins. And what does that say about societal conditioning, per se? And which is why I want to thank you, Harsha, and Payal and Steelcase and WOD for getting us all here on this platform, because there's great power in the unified collective.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with that, Zainab.
And personally, honestly, I have to state I haven't encountered much gender discrimination. Very supportive colleagues, bosses, team workers, family, and I'm sure most of us will sort of agree to this. But for every woman that is sort of present here who has learned to work the system, there are probably tens or hundreds others who are struggling. And if by narrating our journeys, we're able to inspire even a fraction of these women, I think then our journeys are worth sharing, you see. So to start with, I think art and design have absolutely no gender. You do, right? I mean, can you look at a space and honestly tell me whether it's been designed by a man or a woman? So basically, it's what value you bring to the table that kind of defines your worth. So the question really should be, how should we enhance our productivity and thereby our overall value? So I'll tell you how I've, sort of coped with this or learned this. One is self-awareness. So I am, very aware of my strengths as well as my weakness, and I learned to do this very early in life. And then once I knew my weaknesses, I tried to find ways to convert them into strengths. The second thing I think is women need to constantly upskill. They have to focus on self-development. I see so many of these Stanford and Harvard executive leadership programs that men sign up for, and not enough women. I think women really need to do that. So, right. And I think how far we go in life will be determined by how many difficult conversations we are willing to have. I've never shied away from standing up for my beliefs, but in order to stand up for your beliefs, you have to do thorough research. You have to be a master of the subject, which means that you have to put in hours and hours of hard work. So another thing is that women carry a lot of guilt. I think women should learn to live guilt-free. I mean, of all the poisons in the world, I think guilt is the most toxic of them all.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You got it right.
Right. So, and also I'd advise women not to overthink, like our time on earth is limited. I think what what differentiates between a good leader or a bad leader is the amount of time that you take to arrive at a decision. So, you need to, I mean, you don't need to make haste, but also don't waste your time. Just value it and use it properly. And when we women are asking for gender equality, we're asking for cerebral gender equality. Please don't mistake it for physical gender equality.
Absolutely, yeah. You have to be very clear about that.
Absolutely. Right? Like I remember the nightmares I used to have with hygiene and security issues when I used to go to site. Even now when I'm traveling, you have to think about what flights you're booking, where you're staying, how you're commuting, all of that. But that's just basic anatomy. We just can't, that's biology. You just have to accept that and sort of move with it. The other thing that I want to, state is there is gender disparity, but I think it's more in the domestic setting than in the workplace, honestly. So we want our men to be partners at home. I think you've done a good job at inclusivity, because recently there was an RFP floated in the market which said that you had to have a woman partner on board, otherwise you don't even qualify. So pat on the back for inclusivity at the workplace.
That's something. That's brilliant. We need more of that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And in the past, I think, there was this saying that diamonds are a woman's best friend. I think today technology is a woman's best friend. So I download every app that there is. I learn to use it and I delegate my life to it. So just makes life so much easier.
From now on, you're my best friend then. I need someone to teach me all of that. So
Zainab, do you want to explain a couple of those pictures? Because they're very nice thumbnails, but I'm not sure if our viewers can see all of those.
So this is basically every step that kind of, helped us in getting to where we are. So at least me. So every competition that I participated in, every person that I sort of, met has in some way contributed to making me who I am. I grew up in the Middle East. I am now director of design with Concept Concilio. And again, I want to mention this, struggle with work-life balance. I remember this little incident about 4 years ago, where I was sitting with Isha Ambani. We were designing for Jio. So it was 11:15 in the night. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, I have no work-life balance. Why am I here? I don't need to do this. And suddenly I look up and I'm sitting with Isha, right? And I have an epiphany of thoughts. I'm thinking that this is the youngest billionairess in the world who's sitting here at 11:15 in the night, smiling and working. So what's my excuse? So I think it's the power of choice, and work-life balance, I think, is also a power of choice. Another thing I want to say is that, women sometimes go a little bit harder on other women, I feel. But, it took me a long time to realize that it doesn't always stem from insecurity. Sometimes women just expect better from other women, in the way a proud father expects more from his son. So, but women, sometimes it's a little bit counterintuitive. So let's be more compassionate and kind. My request to the leaders. And I think to sum up everything, I'd say that good design, because we are designers, is never incidental. It is always by intent. And intent is like your personal goalpost. So it's not a destination, it's a direction. So as long as women are headed in the right direction, I don't think we need to worry about shattering glass ceilings or, or all of that yet. That'll happen, if not already happening. What we need to focus on is creating meaningful, sustainable lifestyles, experiences for us as well as for others within the workplace as well. And I think the rest will follow and fall into place. So
yeah, no, that all sounds great. And in fact, there are like thousands of thoughts going around in my head to kind of comment on everything that you've said. but that would lead on to another conversation at other level.
We'll leave
which,
it for after the presentation.
Yes, which we are going to have a conversation after this. So I'm going to let you go for now, Zainab.
Thank you.
But I'm on top of it. Do we want to move on to who's
we have
got
Meghna's slides, please?
Hi,
Meghna.
everyone. Check, check. Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. So, when I got...
I am intrigued, completely
Oh,
intrigued
dear.
by all the gamut of sectors that you seem to have worked in, from
Yeah.
mergers and acquisitions in
Oh,
banks,
yes.
public and private
Thank you, darling.
investment for the UK government, now to our design and build project management. So I had two questions, and then I'll let you speak.
Go for it.
How did you manage to straddle all this? And are there more ambitions? Are you going to be?
Oh, yes, I'm going to conquer the world,
darling.
darling. Sorry.
And I want you to expand on the business of business is business.
Oh, dear.
So over
Okay.
to you.
Thank you, love. Right. So when I got contacted by Harsha and Payal, they said, give us a slide on your journey. So I said, okay, journey. So then I thought about when I was born. I was born in a chawl in Pratna Samaj. So if you've seen Slumdog Millionaire, slightly better than that. Those were my surroundings. That's where I was born. That picture, I thought, best not, otherwise we'll have tears. So let's not. So then I said, fast forward thode sal, English, sorry, I forget. So then I had this picture with pigtails and a tooth missing. I said, that looks cute to me and my mom, but it's not going to look cute to everybody else. So I said, fast forward a few more years. And then we get to 20 years ago, which is the photograph you see on the left on the screen, which is where I'm sitting outside on a footpath outside the international airport, waiting for my flight 20 years ago to go to London with a personal loan of 5 lakh rupees, which didn't even, by the way, cover my first semester. So that's where I started. So that's my journey. I had 2 jobs that I did, one in a wine shop, another one in the university. And then I paid off my dues slowly and steadily. And I did a dissertation in women in construction and improved working environment in 2006. And that dissertation somehow caught a lot of attention. And I didn't expect it because I was just doing a dissertation. And I said, okay, what can I do? I'm a woman. I can feel construction. So let's go with that subject. I can speak about it. I can write about it. Because of the attention it generated, that's when I realized I got the power. And that's why you've got that He-Man photograph. I knew I had the power to influence. And every time I got put in a situation, and every time I got a shoddy job, somebody said, go run an errand, go do this, go do that as a young person, I realized, how can I influence this situation? If you remember that for yourself, how can I influence this? Then no job is big or small because you are trying to constantly find a deeper meaning in what you're doing. Fast forward another few years, and then we come to noticing me as young, I got an award for under 30 best, employee through the Association of Project Management, actually. And I joined the special interest group, very much like this one, and it was really, really exciting. And then we come to a point in my life where I had to move back to India. Many people say I did the U-turn. I came back to India to be happily married, and I thought it was great. So I came back, and there's a photograph there of me standing with 5 men. One of them is Pirojsha Godrej. Second one is Leif Rolfson, who spent 200 crores to get a property in Mumbai. And 2 other guys who are very, very influential. And I'm the only woman there. I felt so good.
Power to you, for sure.
Yeah, it was
Meghna.
amazing.
That's an amazing picture.
And on the right of the page, what you see is, listen, understand cultures, get people. Ultimately, people are people. Don't forget to have fun with your girlfriends. Honestly, that's where you, get your energy back. And ultimately, I'm a perpetual optimist, which is why you've got that band in the center telling you, nothing's impossible, guys. Anything. So, Payal, coming back to your question about how did I manage to do all of this and if there's anything more, certainly, I strongly believe that I never had to watch my back all my life because I was always looking forward. So there was no time to look behind. I never had to think about what next because opportunities keep coming to you and you are looking for purpose in it. So you really don't have to worry. Is this too small for me? What can I get out of this? Just find the purpose and remember, how can I influence this? If you remember that, that's absolutely fine. And that's the reason I feel, I think I have a long way to go. Answering the second part of the question, why do I say business of business is business? I personally feel, everybody feels that when you're trying to sell something, or when you're selling your services, or you want to say something to someone, you always feel that you're the seller, so you're on a back foot. You are there because the opposite person wants something from you. You already got the upper hand. So the business of business at the end of the day is just business. It's numbers, what revenue you can bring, how do you generate, how do you influence, is all of those things, you know. And there's this one question that a lot of people ask me. They say, what would you tell your 20-year-old self, you know? What, when you write an open letter, what would you say? I just say, take it easy, man. Take it easy. It's all going to happen. It's okay, you know. Don't worry. Don't think about too many things. Don't clutter your mind. It's all going to happen. You know, it's all going to happen for you. God's got the master plan, and she or he is watching your back. So don't look behind, look forward. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Meghna. I think I'll add a bit to it. So, you know, you say you are an optimist. I think you're a force, okay?
Oh, dear.
You are a force, you are a people person, and I don't know you personally, but you've been here in the showroom for last 1.5 hours or so, right? And I was there doing something, and I hear Meghna calling the guy from the kitchen and saying, Bhaiya, chai, Pramod, she knows his name as well, yeah? Like Pramod chai or something, and she, oh, masala chai milega, oh, ye, wo, and it's like she's talking to her friend or something. And then she calls the other guy saying, Bhaiya, jara juta utar ke upar chadenge, something. And here she is having her own little party on the side. That's called as being a people person, right? You can connect with anyone and everyone. And that's again coming to Shweta's point, a power of a woman. That's it. That's what we have it in us, right? So moving on to our next guest, Poonam. You've got lots to say there on your slide. I love that. So I'll ask you this, right? This image on your slide says a lot. Very powerful reality of our industry, just like many other industries. But even standing alone in that line, your journey seems to have been very positive. And you attribute most of your success to your male colleagues as well, which is great. And I've personally worked with Moser in the UK, in fact, more recently on a project for Netflix in Madrid. And the company culture there and the vibe is always very positive and very progressive.
And I'll tell you exactly why.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised that your journey has been positive working with them. So tell us more. Just tell us everything.
You know, first of all, I'd like to thank you and Payal for bringing up this premise. I mean, when you say that, describe your journey, I think let's admit all of us are hamsters on a wheel. You're forever just running and everybody around the table just agrees.
Do you think, Shimul, hamsters on a wheel? Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. And these are choices that all of us have made, so no complaints, but there is something always happening. So, when you say that, describe your journey, it was quite literally taking a pause from a maddening week to be, hey, it's what has been my journey, and it's exactly what we are talking,
thinking, Payal, when asking that question.
Yeah, and it's amazing because that kind of gave me time to kind of pause. Let's put the emails away and just kind of let's open, what has the journey been? I mean, it's been 20 years and where have they gone? It's been 20 years and just yesterday I'm out of architecture school and thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to go abroad? Am I going to switch cities? And I said, let me try and move cities and take on a new experience, sort of move out of the nest, work out with a firm. And I've just changed 2 jobs and I've had really long stints with both the firms. And in both the firms, all the leadership, people who've taken me under the wings have all been women. I mean, this is some sort of a karmic sisterhood, I mean, we've grown looking with them under their leadership. And then now, when I'm in Moser, it's helmed by a woman. Moser, M. Moser is Moira Moser. It's founded by a woman. And it's so amazing, you know, when I went to interview, here I was, 5 months pregnant, and they are like, you know, why we're not going to refuse a woman just because she's pregnant. And that just speaks volumes about a firm. You know, it talks volume about, you know, you cannot look at marriage, and these are all natural progressions in everybody's life, not just a woman. It cannot be, you know, it's not a negative. And but like I said, the journey has been immensely enriching. Our profession is such, you know, and you meet so many people. You meet people at different stature, and I think equally important is meeting those people at site. You know, the workers that you work with. I mean, we may have learned all that in school, but those learnings that you get from your contractors, from the smallest man to the site, they have been immense. It's wonderful, and there's a time, and this is why the image was there, because there's a small story. I was presenting, trying very, very hard for this really big project, and I'm not going to name the firm. It's a large company in India, over wine and cheese. And you know, I enter into the boardroom, and one thing that comes across is, okay, the gentleman is sitting there, and there are 20 people, and there's not one woman on the board. And I mean, that comes across as surprising. I'm okay, I'm giving my design pitch, I'm talking, and this is how your office could be. And the gentleman kept addressing my colleague, and you know, and I said, hey, and I said, no, I kept talking. I said, okay, maybe I'm not engaging enough. I said, okay, let me talk my antiques and, you know, up my game, because, you know, because then you start questioning, you know, I've been presenting multiple times. I really want the job. And the man at the table would not address the question to me and my colleague. And I said, you know, after 20 minutes, I said, you know, excuse me, sir. I mean, would you rather have him present? Because I can sit down. And he did apologize, but I said, you know, that's not done, because the fact that there are no women at your side talks volumes about it. But this is just one of the incidents. And like I said, there's been a lot of camaraderie with women leadership, but equal credit to the team. There are a lot of men on the team who've been equally supportive. It starts with your parents. I'm married to an architect, so I think that's even better. And you know, sometimes somebody said, you know, in India, you know, you guys live in multi-generational families. Is it easy? I said, that's our strength. I can go back to work because I know my mom-in-law is taking care at home of my son. I have a 7-year-old, for God's sake, you know, it's demanding. But it's wonderful. And I think all of us, it's an ecosystem. You know, you've got to sort of support each other. Not everybody gets the opportunity, but, you know, I mean, let's help the teams that we work with. You know, everybody dreams, but not everyone's dreams come true, you know. And that's what I've sort of learned when I read a story to children, you know, and they've come with their ideas, they come with dreams in their eyes, and they're so wary of, you know, can I speak English? And I said, that's fine. You're speaking, you're being heard. That is important. That's been my journey.
Great. No, thank you for sharing. And good for you to wake that guy up and shake him up a little bit, saying, sorry, am I invisible?
Don't take anything. Do not take anything.
That's your take on, you know, for the new entrants in the industry. Don't just sit there, right? You do need to raise your voice when needed. So moving on to Shimul.
So I'm not sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Shimul, I'm not sure how you planned your slide. I'm sure our viewers will be intrigued to know that. But I just wanted to bring in, and maybe you could answer me this now or later. I'm in love with your projects. I love the Nirvana Film Studio, and I'm sure you'll touch upon that. But I did hear a talk of yours, which I saw a clip on YouTube in 2018, in which you mentioned that though all sectors need women, we also need them to be in positions of power. rather than only in the feminized sectors. You also spoke about the challenge of being true to yourself in our industry and our profession. So over to you, if you could just pull this together.
Ooh, big task. So firstly, I don't know which slide is up there. The one I'm seeing in front of me is the one of my whole office. Okay, so there's a new one. There's a bunch of what we call the 10 Commandments of Sgk on there, and we'll go through all of those, but I think that's a little boring compared to everything we've been talking about, and several of those issues, connectedness being the first commandment, has been really the kind of USP of what we do, which is all our projects we believe should connect us to nature, should connect us to human beings and each other. And the third thing that our work must do is connect us to our souls. So to us, that is the primary thing. And of course, the last two commandments somewhere there is probably collaborate and consciousness, which again, to me are two of the most important. Collaboration, and we have that whole network of collaboration that we show. And therefore, I try very hard to ensure that everybody recognizes that as a project, whether it's Nirvana Films or any of the projects that we have done, are really the outcome of hundreds of people coming together and literally singing together, tuning into each other. And that's what makes a project. And to me, that's, I don't believe in this idea of the master architect, neither the gender nor the hierarchy that the term implies. Both I have tremendous issues with. Talking very simply about my journey, I'd say I was, a kid who gave my father, an adolescent or a teenager who gave my father all the white hair he could ever have. Nobody believes it when I say it now. I was wild as they come. And he, poor fellow, did a lot to tame me, had a hard time with it. And then I recall going to the United States to do a master's, and my father had very much told me, you go there, I'll support you for one semester, and thereafter you're on your own steam. And I recall finding a posting saying, graduate women apply for TAs for women's studies. And I said, oh my God, here's my ticket to get a TA-ship. I had no idea what women's studies was, but I just wanted that TA-ship. So I went and applied for a TA-ship and gave several interviews and realized that this was really, women's studies was about seeing the world from a woman's perspective. And, I almost got the job, and they said, we can't. You were finally tied up with another woman who has a lot more knowledge about feminist theory. And we recommend that you study feminist theory and then reapply for the job. So with doing my master's in the US in urban planning, I studied feminist theory and reapplied for the job and taught women's studies, as well as doing a master's in architecture and urban planning. And thereafter came that whole return to India, return to reality, return to marriage, and lots of, tough and very interesting decisions, whereas Meghna talks about, it'll all happen. I think I was very, very studied and decisive in every decision I took. The first of which was I was marrying an architect. And I was marrying an architect whose father is an architect, and a very well-known one at that. So yes, I was, I had everything that Shweta said she didn't have, I had, and I still had a huge problem with. And you can never get it all right. And I really felt I would be completely subsumed in that family of practitioners. And I mean, it still happens every day that I'm asked, do you do interiors? No. Yeah, I mean, fortunately, less and less so. But yes, so I decided to not practice with my husband or my father-in-law and start a practice of my own entirely. And I think it was perhaps the best decision I could ever have taken. Best decision for my husband as well, I think, poor man. didn't need to see me 24 hours a day. Yeah, that was one interesting decision. It was very tough because I really had no resources. I mean, I didn't have the money to buy an office. I practiced till my second child. I practiced from one bedroom in the house, and finally bought a little office. The second big decision was regarding residential interiors. It was, I mean, my father-in-law had a big name. My husband practiced with him. It was very tempting for people to just believe that I was the ones kind of, doing these residential interiors. And I absolutely loved architecture. So I took this decision at some point that I just won't do residential interiors. And so in a way, I kind of steered my practice to what it is now. And then the lovely part of it is, slowly as we started getting known better and better, we had a lot of women joining the practice. And then I'd always be asked, are you an all-woman practice? And
I've seen a picture of your office and it's almost 80% women.
That's a subject for a later discussion because it's a feminized profession now. There's a lot of women in this profession in colleges. So you end up with, even my husband's practice, which was earlier 50-50 or 80-20 the other way, is now 80-20 in this way. But more than that, I think what I was getting was really motivated, amazing women joining the practice because they all wanted to do hardcore, good architectural work. And they were coming to this practice, I think to some extent, a very small extent because I was a woman, but more because the practice espoused the values that they wanted to participate in. So, with all of that, we now have this practice with 3 very strong women who are associates. The rest of us, of course, are, so we're about a 25-person strong office. We don't want to ever grow, and we don't grow. The way we do it is if we have more work than we can handle, rather if we want to. And one of the reasons we've stayed small, that was another conscious decision, is that I wanted always to be able to say no to work, which is what we've always done. And there are several women who worked with us, left the practice, have babies now, and we rope them in when we have more work than we can handle. When there are so many interiors that come our way that we really can't handle or don't want to, and we give the work, we pass work on. So yeah, and the other thing I really wanted to talk about was the future of workplace design, since we're here. And for me, that's really about just making work much more natural, compassionate, inclusive. We have an office where our babies come in, they work with us, they hang out. We have a very interesting format where we do, we just believe that the world you don't need to be just an architect. There's so much more to life. So we do something called videos at lunch. Every day at lunch, we all eat together and the office provides lunch. And each one shows a video about anything they feel like, and we all sit around and we discuss it. And we find that, people from the office have really felt like they've grown. They've just grown in the way they think, they look at life, etc. through that. Then we have Fridays at 5, where we invite somebody in to speak about what they do. It could be a designer, it could be a politician. You just never know who's, whoever is willing to come and talk to us about their journey. So that is one of the most important things. And I thought I'd show a quick video on this one project, Nirvana Films, that...
I love all the concrete and the louvered windows.
So it kind of espouses the attitude we have to office design. So I'd love to show it. It's a film production company and fantastic clients to have. They wrote to us with one email asking us to design a building for them in Bangalore on a greenfield site. Lovely little site where there were two copper pot trees that the lands faced. And really, one of the things they said to us is an idea can come anywhere. It need not be sitting in the confines of a kind of very straight-laced office. So even though the site is...
So that people can go in and innovate.
Right.
It could be anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. So even though the site is, fairly constrictive, yeah.
Okay. Peeping.
This done, Shimul? When was this project done?
Never expected to
caught
be
you
asked
there.
that question. I think it was completed 2012. It won, I know that it won the World Architecture Festival Award in 2012.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Interesting. Amazing building, but what you've done with it is even more amazing. Right. So our audience have seen the video. If you want to say a few things about it, Shimul.
I mean, sure. It's. I think that the film says it all. But basically, it was about creating a building that where the staircase became the courtyard. We wanted a building that would kind of, allow for wind and light and natural ventilation and allow ideas to flow. And obviously, the site being as tight as it was, the only way to actually create a courtyard that connected everything to everything else. Connections was my first commandment.
Yeah.
Was to, let the staircase become the courtyard.
Right.
So light comes in through there, interactions happen on that staircase, and you can see the little kind of balconies that look onto the staircase. And then, that word clarity that's in those 10 commandments. To me, once you have that very, very strong idea of what you want to do, every little detail has to follow that idea. So the detail of the louvers that open, 4 louvers open at a time,
Yeah.
is purely to make sure that very simply you bring wind into the project.
Right. Okay.
The idea of having little, every single detail on the north face is again a set of wooden and acrylic louvers. And that's so that the entire staircase gets windswept, and you can also close the staircase from prying neighbors whenever you want to. So just making sure that every detail feeds into the concept being, connectivity in every way possible. All those 10 concepts, climate, making sure that climate is a big driver. There's, I can't see the, clarity. Clarity was another huge one. Complexity, don't innovate for the sake of it. To me, that is one of the most important things possible. Just, only as much as you need to, when you need to. There's no need to be, look, ma, no hands. Just do it only for the purpose.
So that's where the clarity comes into picture as well, right? Because you're focused about what you're doing.
Yeah.
It looks like a very organic space because people are just moving about, doing things, playing games, and it's just the vibe of the house as well, isn't it? Moving on to the premise that we are on about Power Women. Before you
I knew
came
you'd
in,
never let me off the hook on that. Yeah.
This has been on my mind. So I was looking at your profile the other day for social media, and there was one sentence on Wikipedia saying one of the top women architects of India is Shimul Javeri, which is not a surprise. We've all heard about you and about your work. before you came here, these girls were deciding who's going to sit where. And of course, you were put at the top of the table.
And I called it the tail.
Absolutely, the tail. So there's this, even us at a mid-level, executive level people, we look up to you and think, oh my God, that's Shimo. And I'm not just saying it for the audience. My question is, there's so many young women out there who would be like, oh my God, I got to go work with Shimo. How do they do that? How, if it is a dream to come work for Shimul, for a young girl, what would you tell her to do?
And Shimul, you were also taking notes while all of them were speaking. So I felt a little bit like I was back in a pitch and the client's making notes.
Well, it always helps during the discussion to remember who said what. Yeah, and we'll get into that later. But how does somebody come work with us? I think what we're looking for is women with great drive, integrity, and values. We have a 10-point list of what we're looking for in the people we want working with us, because we're just a 25-person office, so it's so important, each person that we hire. And the 3 top design directors have now been with the office for between 15 and 20 years. So clearly there's something we're looking for, and I think values is a very, very big one. I think immense drive, just that desire to do it against all odds, but do it with huge amounts of collaboration.
Sure.
We're a very highly collaborative office.
Yeah. Of course, collaborations is where it all starts, isn't it? All the creative juices flow, and that's how it happens. So thank you. I'm sure there are loads of young women watching us today, and they would want to know this. How do we go work with Shimul? So just had to pop that question in the middle of everything. But I'm sure we can move ahead and start the conversation.
Everyone. Everyone's presentations were wonderful. I'm sure there are lots of comments on Harsha's screen scrolling by.
I would be looking. So do we want to turn off the slideshow now? And we would start with a general discussion, or more organic discussion, I would say. And I'm just putting this out there, whoever wants to take the question. The first one here is, we see a great representation of women in the design side of our industry. But of course, there are gaps that exist within the typically male-centric disciplines like project and site management, cost control, procurement, etc. Where you don't see many women, right? Like the picture that you showed. So do you think this gap should be fixed? And if yes, of course, I'm hoping it's yes. How? How do we fix that gap? How do we get ourselves within that whole group?
Or do we feel that we are good in the design side of the industry? Meghna's the only project manager here, or we play to our strengths?
So I personally feel it's more about what is it that you're trying to achieve, and then think about who's right for it. Majority of the people we've met. So firstly, the organization I work for, the CFO is a woman, marketing head's a woman, finance head is a woman, business head is a woman. I could go on. And that decision wasn't a conscious one. We didn't start with thinking, let's roll out our Rolodeck and think of all the good women and let's bring them in and get them interviewed and get them going. The intent, what is it that you're trying to achieve? And then meet people who could help you achieve it. I genuinely believe that if you start with that intent, there is no failing. It's just ended up that we are all women at senior leadership at the organization I work, and it's owned by a woman as well, just like Poonam mentioned. I do believe that the right way to do it is get the right content, the right ability, and the rest of it will fix itself, because slowly it'll penetrate into everything, and eventually the work will talk, which is why I had mentioned when I said business of business is business. When you look at what people are bringing in on a sheet of paper, and you see those GBPs, INRs, and the dollars, they don't look at you and think, has a woman brought that number or has that man brought the number? It's the number, baby. So I believe that it really works. Having said that, women's journeys are very challenging. I had seen an image of Mahindra's country head put up where they'd shown a race track and they showed a man standing and they showed a woman standing at the same line, but the woman had the laundry list and she had the washing of the vessels and she had the babies to take care of. So although she started the same place, it just was a harder journey. So we get that. But what I learned is no one knows your hustle or your story when you go in to pitch. They're interested in what you're bringing, and take all of that emotion and take all of the journey and bring it. And that's it. You will shine. Genuinely.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we've been fortunate, right, to be in that position. But like, for example, Shimul, when you go on site, when you have other project management companies coming on site, architecture side, do you still see a lot of men in those roles, or do you now see females as well on sites? What's the scenario?
No, we're still very much the only women on site.
Does anyone else have anything to add?
I like to add. So it's a very, very valid observation, especially in workplace design. You know, what has happened as a shift when we look for talent is somewhere, I don't know, it's conscious or unconscious. We see a lot of women on the design side, and we are seeing more of the men moving towards project management, execution, procurement. And somewhere, when I go back to my days and I look at what our professors used to say, they would say, you know, your time is going to come when you see more gray on your head. And workplace design, you know, when we were lucky that, you know, we stepped in when this the Indian space was opening up to global corporations. And in the last 2 decades, it has actually opened up design as a possibility of a great career. You know, we would not see this commercial architecture as a very profit-making or a viable or an easy profession. It would be hardcore architecture, stalwarts, and, you know, we would all worry whether we'll make a place. Last 2 decades, we have seen a lot of women coming in, obviously making a place for themselves. And what Poonam said, you know, I have gone through it so many times. Oh my God, you know, it's like, I have gone through journeys of projects, and every time the client knows I have done the job, but they look through you and they address the male men standing around you, or they will just look through you. They will not talk to you. They'll not talk to you as a person. Right now, we need this shift. Now, what we need is a balance to come in. You know, so when I look for CVs and I look for talent, I really want men to think design as their core subject, and women to think execution as their core subject. We need to give that place making to people now, that they can choose, and it's a comfortable, happy, profitable, successful career. We need to bring them. That's something which we should strive for as industry leaders in the next decade.
Again, you're speaking about breaking a bias and maybe just going on merit, you know.
No, it's not a bias, Payal. I feel it's a comfort. You know, earlier we didn't have comfort in this profession. We've built that comfort. Now we need to change the comfort parameters.
No, I'm talking about bias, internal bias of an upcoming youngster who's studying architecture, and depending on your gender is moving this way because he sees more of his peers in that line. So we just need to break that.
Absolutely. Like design schools should start making design as a good career. Everybody is moving towards tech. Everybody is saying technology, let's go for it. Let's harness the power of design in all sphere and make it like a big rocking thing in India. And that will only happen when we start branding Indian designers globally. You know, till date, I'm sure every one of us seen, you know, concept architects from across coming and putting their mark here. But how many Indian companies are becoming global standards and reaching across and showing a design by this company out of India? The minute we globalize ourselves as a design fraternity doing outstanding work, the whole equations are going to start shifting. And again, we are going to see a change in the next decade. And that's something which we should work on. I passionately want to see more men on design side, creativity oozing from their dimension, and more women on the other side. I think it'll be a brilliant mix.
Yes, that's true. It is time to make that shift, isn't it? Now, how that shift happens, whether it's through education, whether architecture courses also focus on project management and whether they encourage women to, go on sites, or whether leaders, as leaders, we encourage our staff, our designers to also go on site, go on, I don't know, even late evening sites and have a look at what's happening there. Maybe we help make those shift is a question, right?
It starts from us, completely starts from us. I mean, when we started, and like you rightly said, architecture 20 years ago, maybe male dominated. As we've come 20 years hence, I mean, in my team, just yesterday when I sent a proposal to a client and put a team chart, there's all women, and the client very, very candidly said, "So are you sure you are an equal gender employer?" I said, "Yes, but it's so nice to see. Everyone across is a woman." But I think it also comes in from this kind of a conditioning that, women are good with design and then men are good at site. But I think, when we as leaders, I think, we in our little way that, I think we just start kind of conditioning the team that, even the women can stand on site and run sites, procurement.
And we've grown like that.
Probably the best because, there's so much, women are balanced. There's an eye for detail, there's sensitivity. And I think that whole multitasking thing that we all just come, it's just part of our DNA. Women are just multitaskers. And, I think just where we are, I think we can sort of very subtly bring in the change in our teams, in our organizations, the offices we are leading.
Yeah, I think that's important. Just apart, it's a joke, but every time I go on site, my bigger problem is that the hard hat, it never fits me. Never. I have my hat right till here. I hate that. I hate that. I want to make a hat that fits me and many others, right? That's a start. Tell me if I'm wrong. Every time I'm like holding my hat and walking around while men are, yeah. Right? So, absolutely. Where are we with all of that? So maybe those things as well. But go ahead, Zainab.
Harsha, I think I'm agreeing with what everyone is saying. I think ultimately, but the onus is on us as well, because we need to have the right role models for the youngsters to look up to. We have some great role models in design already. So, the youngsters are kind of looking up to that and following that. So I think if we also sort of, deliberate over that and build on it and become role models, there others will follow, students. Also, again, the upskilling bit that I spoke about, I think that's another deviation. Women need all-round development. Absolutely. So it can't be, we shouldn't have these self-limiting beliefs, oh, I can't do this. Just get out there. Yeah. And, it might be difficult. Toilets, yes, definitely. I've faced this challenge always. Mm-hmm. But I think we'll just find ways. And if we can't find ways, we'll make ways, I think so.
I think that's why we brought this question up, isn't it? To bring this conversation and remind us that we have to take that first step, isn't it? Go ahead, Shiv.
One thing. When I was a very young construction manager on site, I was very mad and angry. I was the angry young man. And I remember to make a statement, I said, I'm not going to say anything. There's nothing I say is going to make any difference. So I bought myself a pink hat and a pink pair of construction boots. And to this day, I wear it in defense or offense of women on site. I'm going to wear it and I'm going to show it off. And every construction manager I know, I'm always happy. Can I buy you the pink hat? Can I buy you the pink hat? Yeah, most definitely, certainly.
Maybe we should have one WOD hat, isn't it, for everyone? Sorry, go ahead, Shimol. Sorry? Absolutely, we can have whatever we want. Go ahead, Shimol.
Who wants to ask?
I was just being mindful of the time. We had 4 questions for the general round. I'm just going to go to the second one. And I'm thinking about, Shimul, something you said earlier about how ratios in architecture practices have shifted. In fact, I have a statistics, maybe it's a little outdated, but nearly 44% of India's 60,000 registered architects are women, according to the Council of Architecture. Only 0.8% of women who go into private practice become partners or senior executives. And this is reminding me of what I heard you speak, that, you know, we don't only need representation of women in all these sectors, we actually need them to be in positions of power. And I know we've been having this discussion, and there have been talks about we can break the glass ceiling, it will come, but there are people, I can actually put up my hand and say that I faced this very, very recently, where the glass ceiling comes and hits you on your head. So what do we do about this?
Okay, so this is related to what I wanted to discuss earlier. And I disagree with women becoming multitaskers and taking on that whole role of I'll manage it all, home, family, work, woo, 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 woo. I firmly believe there's another way to deal with this. And I think for me, I've been one of the few architects, I think, who calls herself a feminist, one of the few women who has absolutely no compunctions about calling myself a feminist, very proudly. And I believe the feminism that I'm talking about is actually humanism. I'm actually saying that, you know, men need feminism as much as women do. Men need to be able to participate in life, participate in emotions, participate in domestic work, bringing up children, all of that. And equally, I mean, that's kind of how my husband and me have managed our lives. And I think this business of procreation and bringing up children and a baby, if you look at it very carefully, it's actually a year in a woman's life that a woman needs to be wholly dedicated to bringing up that child. The rest of the time, it takes a village. It takes a village to bring up a child. And if men participate, grandfathers participate, father-in-laws participate,
House help.
Yes, very much so, house help. But I think, if men are allowed to, or rather take that onus of domesticity on them as well, the entire situation can balance itself out, where men also lose that burden of having to be the breadwinners and having to be the ones that don't show emotion, don't participate in their children's, in the rearing of their children. Men don't cry, rubbish. Men ought to really weep. And I think that would have serious repercussions for society as a whole. So I think the institution of the family needs a little bit of rethinking and rework. And I feel I considered it extremely important to work on that with my husband first, and then very slowly and very gently with the rest of my family. And I also think institutionally, it's very important to look at creches. I firmly believe that if men had babies, creches would probably be the hedge funds of today. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. They would be the Starbucks of today. Very popular, very well paid. So yeah, I think there's a lot of very fundamental rethinking, and I think we talked a little bit about liberal feminism, and honestly, I find this a very refreshing group. I've been on so many panels, women's panels, where women will kind of very much say, I have never seen discrimination in my life. And my question is always, if you haven't seen discrimination, there will be some awareness that will come at some point in your life where you'll understand that what you actually saw was discrimination. And I think for me, that aha moment was the Women's Studies program at university in the United States, where I was able to suddenly put everything that I'd, all my clashes with my father, all into a framework and recognize, oh my God, this is patriarchy. I think, yeah, I'm going to rest it at that.
I think we need a masterclass from Shimu, because I think you're very, very lucky to have had it at that young age and before you walked into a profession. I think it's very, very important. I've been one of those women who stood up in Women's Forum and said there's zero gender discrimination. when I heard other women recounting their experiences, I felt like I was living on another planet or they were living on another planet. And then I did have my aha moment, and then I could see very clearly in hindsight small microaggressions, which because you have rose tinted glasses, because you think you're good, the world is going to be good to you, you just brush it off. You know, you just like Meghna, you said, you don't look back, you keep looking forward. You need to keep moving forward. It was a small irritant, but I think it's very important. I think we need to get Shimul for a masterclass.
Yeah.
For feminism.
In fact, if she's running a master class, I'm going to bring my husband in. Well, no, that's a joke. He's been very good, so I can't say that on.
So I don't know if anybody's heard, a child gives birth to a mother. I think part of it is also our responsibility that we educate or, you know, subtly put across our points. So I remember my father's an architect as well. So, you know, I faced some of the issues that you guys would have faced. And my mom said to my dad, and now she wants to go study architecture. Then she wanted to be a swimmer. You know, she's all over the place. It's all your fault, you know. So Papa sat me down and he asked me, why don't you want to finish your interior design and get married? So I just looked at him and I said, Papa, I don't like curtains, I like concrete. And he said, Ja, tu ja. Do what you want to do. He's like, I don't think I can. He just told my mom, you just got to let her go. So I think some of it is also us showing people, making them aware. Maybe Papa just wasn't aware. And I had to tell him, you know, that, you know, I want that concrete. I want to build, I want to be Zahadid or Mies van der Rohe and all of that jazz, you know. So
we
awareness
need to
may
raise
be
a more
helpful.
informed generation now. It's up to us.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we are. We are doing it by our lives, but we need to be a little more conscious and do that.
And I think it's not just the next, it's the previous as well. Go in with humility. I mean, you know, when you don't know something, you just don't know it. No one's shown it to you. So they may not have come across those experiences.
Absolutely.
And be gentle with them. It's okay. You know, just be gentle and subtle and put it across and they'll get it and say, ah, not curtains, concrete.
Got that. Oh, okay. So I guess, Shimul, what your point was about, I think spreading that awareness amongst men as well. And we've discussed this before, Payal and myself, where there is a lot of unconscious bias as well, isn't it? Where men don't realize, even women don't realize that they have that bias. So there's a lot more that we can talk about on that, but I agree with your points. I think looking at the time, being conscious, I'm going to give each one of you a minute or so to any final thoughts, anything that you would want to share with the audience. A lot of young designers have joined us today. So, Shweta, do you want to start or anyone?
Or even any suggestions for our next events?
Surely have a suggestion. So I was talking to Harsha about this and I said, you know, we are doing this women in design thing, but a lot of us don't realize that this whole structure functions because of support functions. And it's not a nice word to use, but it's the HR, the finance, the, you know, the group CFOs, all of those that make us all stand on the foundation to be able to deliver. And all of those women are not recognized because in their forums, they may be, but not in our world. So I was suggesting to Harsha that we need to pick out all of those and perhaps do something like that with them, because they'll tell you so many stories, because all of these stories never come up, right? Because we're not talking about it. So that may be an idea.
Sure, and I think we've discussed this. In fact, the next event in March, we are hoping to have a good mix and not just designers and architects, but you know, from other verticals of our industry and also from our clients. We're bringing a few clients.
Maybe not with many known people, because you know the known speakers go out in the industry and everybody knows them, so we find the quieter ones.
True. We are hunting for more. Go ahead, Zainab.
As cliched as it sounds, and with due respect to everybody, I think being a woman cannot be your handicap, but it should not be your crutch either. So basically, again, I think it's all about powering up, eliminating self-limiting beliefs, believing in yourself. And I spoke about this before, the unified collective. So it's, you know, can I call it an organization like yours that is bringing us all together? And there's this power in majority, you know, we hear each other's stories, we understand, and there are some points that were made that maybe I'm going to go back and think about Shweta, Shimul, Meghna, Poonam. I mean, thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what WOD is. And I keep saying it's not just about running these events and just having these conversations. These conversations are the starting point. You and me and you, we all get busy with our lives, right? But tomorrow morning when we wake up and we think, oh yeah, we spoke about it. What am I doing about it? So I guess, yes, it is a starting point, and hope that we would have more conversations and that would lead to something. So surely a start.
I'll take it to a little different angle, but what I always feel as I'm going to talk more from design and this industry as a broader level. We Indians are fascinated when we go to Europe and other Western format societies because of the infrastructure, their attention to detail and perfection. I know we are organic, we are very diverse, we have blah, blah, blah issues, but somewhere my at least passion is let's strengthen this design community in India. We brand ourselves as bigger global players. We should take pride in building our country. We should bring that perfection, that beautification, creating communities, ecosystems, evolving ourselves and walking hand in hand with the global design fraternity, showcasing our country, our projects, our people, our designers, and making this bigger. That's my dream. I want to see perfection everywhere to whatever level we can bring it to. I'm not saying we have to copy a Western format or a European format, but it really needs to shine in its own way. And there's a lot of work that we all need to put in there.
Sure. And I think you've mentioned this before in your presentation, that you want India to be on a global platform, right?
Absolutely.
And I'll quickly give an example or what experience I had. I was invited to Valencia by the government of Spain to present WOD at one of their events. And I went along thinking, yeah, I'm doing what I do. And at the end, they asked me to present an award, which was Valencia had won the World Capital of Design 2022. And I'm like, yeah, fine. Okay, it's an honor. I'll do it. And then someone slipped in saying, oh, we were against Bangalore in India, who came second. And I'm like, I am not giving this award. No, I did give an award. But when I came back, and when I came back to London and I was speaking to a few of our designers here, they were not even aware of this. And I'm thinking here, others in Europe are speaking about Bangalore as the world capital of design, but we as Indians are not yet aware. So there's some disconnect.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So there's more to be done.
Yeah. Design has to become like as important an industry as technology, as a tech space. We should build it, we should brand it, and you're doing a brilliant job. And technology tools, I'm sure that's going to bridge the gap, but there's a lot of work that needs to go in now, because it's not just on a software. You have to see it in reality. You have to build it and transform it. And one day,
that's what we all are going to do together, right? That's the promise. Shimul, you were making some points. Do you want to give some last thoughts? We've got, I guess, 2 more minutes. I always catch on you.
Simply learning, literally. But yes, there's 2 points that I'd like to respond to. One is Zainab's about not using one's womanhood as a crutch. And I think as much, and I really agree with that, as much as I agree with being aware about patriarchy, I also agree that we were discussing it that day, Payal, that, and it's something I tell my daughter. My daughter is me squared or cubed. And, we're always talking about that whatever you do, finally, you got to realize that we're all human and tune into yourself, your power, and everything is not about being discriminated against. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. I tremendously agree with what Shweta said, which is our profession is actually going to get the worth it deserves only if we come together as a community. Even simple things like fees. We need to actually collaborate, discuss, create a model schedule of fees that we all, stand by. just professional ethics that we all stand by. I think there's nothing better than creating a design collaborative, not just of women, of every, all firms with integrity. So those two things are extremely important. When you talked about creating a masterclass on feminism, I was actually completely embarrassed because that's not something that I would even know how to do. But there are these two little books that I find fantastic, and every time somebody has kind of asked me for tips or thoughts, I recommend them. And that's everybody here must have read Chimamanda, the one who wrote Americana, Half of an Orange Sun, all of that. Chimamanda is an amazing Nigerian woman, and she's written these two little books, and one is called Letters to My Daughter, and the other one is called The Feminist Manifesto. And they're just that thin, but they answer so many questions that we've all raised or may have had in a very simple, non-kind of jargonish manner. Recommended to everyone.
Great, thank you.
So much.
I mean, that's a big thing. I'm going to check it out for sure. So thank you, Shiva.
I've read the fiction novels. I haven't read those.
Great. So I know we are running out of time, and I know we all have a lot to say. So maybe part 3 is when we will have more and more. But just a quick, big thank you to the audience for joining in today. So yeah, keep coming. We have loads more to say and loads more to share. Thank you to our lovely speakers for sparing time, sharing your thoughts with us. I'm sure you all have gained a lot today in terms of what they shared, to take something back with you. And this is a long journey. We'll keep going. Please check out our website again to see when the next event is, and we'll see you all then. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.